All right, I'm back.
Nice. Yeah, I'm not usually home at 6 in the morning, so my son sleeps next door. My wife's down the hall, and yeah, it's crazy
Where
being
where
here.
where where are you usually?
I go to the gym at 5. I can't sleep in, so my body says I'm like a rooster. It says get up, and so at 5 o'clock I go to the gym. I get home, I walk the dogs, and then Kingston's on spring break right now, but usually I'll start getting him ready and 7:30 and getting him ready to school by 8:30. So
Nice. So
yeah.
where are you right now? Where do you have your meetings?
Look. This is my house, Laguna
Okay.
Niguel. Yeah, we just moved back from
Okay.
Cabo. We were in Cabo for a while, so my wife has some heart issues that we had to come back for. Um,
Okay.
she's doing a lot better now, but yeah. So we found a place in Laguna Niguel. We're up on what is it, Pacific Island. So we overlook. We can see Salt Creek and see all. It's pretty good views up here. So we're loving
Wow.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love this area. I've been here 2 years now.
Oh, yeah.
A little over 2 years in.
Where'd you come from?
So most of my like young adult life, I was in the La Habra, Fullerton, Whittier area.
Okay.
Are you familiar?
Yeah, yeah. I grew up my first 18 years in Laverne. Uh,
Okay. Yeah, just north of there. So
yeah. So nobody knows where that is. So I'm 47. So I reference Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. San Dimas is the city next to it.
yeah,
So
no one ever knows La Habra, so that's why I'm like, yeah, Fullerton, Whittier, they're cities. Those cities are a little bit bigger, and people are
yeah,
more familiar with them.
yeah,
That's where I trained for, you know, almost 8 years in Fullerton with Eric.
yeah. Eric Paulson, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's where I got
Yeah.
my black belt from. And like I said, recently I moved down south, and I'm with Nick now over at Peaceful Warrior, and I'm teaching the kids class, the adults. I started training with Jiva Santana too about 4 or 5 months ago in Tustin.
Mm-hmm. I don't know who that
Yeah,
is.
what's that?
I don't know who that is.
Oh yeah, look him up, the arm collector.
Oh, really? That's a good
Yeah,
nickname. I like that.
sick jiu-jitsu teacher and practitioner.
Yeah.
Dude, he's 50 years old, and he just destroys everybody.
Really. That's
It's
good.
freaking.
That's good to know because I just turned 47 and I'm like, am I getting too old for this now? So should I start slowing down? Because as you know, I just started training at Peaceful Warrior and
Yeah.
I'm back to white belt. Like I started out 20 years ago in boxing, and me and my buddy were boxing, and I popped his ribs, and he was a server at Claim Jumper in Huntington Beach, and
Uh-huh.
the manager said, "What? Why can't you hold the tray like a normal person?" He says, "Oh, I was boxing, I hurt my ribs," and he says, "Well, if you want to learn how to fight, come to my place." And he was a Olympic judo guy,
Okay.
so we went to him, and it wasn't a studio or a gym. It was he knew the high school principal of McKellen or something, some beach, some high school in Long Beach. So we would just go to the high school gym every night, and he had the keys, and we would just go there, and he taught us judo. He would bring in jiu-jitsu guys. I mean, we started fighting and rolling, and then some of those guys went on to fight in King of the Cage.
Wow.
I never actually got into the cage there, but we started doing smoker fights in between different studios. And
Yeah.
I was hooked. Like that's how I got into it. I busted my knees, my hands. I get all the injuries, and now like I'm 47. I've been doing Krav. I've been staying pretty active throughout my whole life. But now at 47, like I was telling you the other day, I've never put on a gi before. Like we used to just train, like get in there and go
You're
fight.
like, what is this? Get this off
Yeah,
of
now I've
me.
got a gi and those guys are tight. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so. I've never had that. So it's a
Yeah,
whole other puzzle to figure
yeah,
out.
yeah, I love the game. Speaking of injuries, yeah, I've had my share of injuries too over the years, and I agree with you. It's for me, martial arts jiu-jitsu has been super addicting just because it has all the it just nothing but benefits
Yeah.
aside from the injuries that
Yeah.
you risk and stuff like that. But it's just been a catalyst for self improvement in my relationships and business and in my health, just in life in general.
Yeah. And that's what's weird is a lot of people think, like when I used to tell them, this was before even MMA was legal in California. They just have such a stigma of like, oh, you guys get in a cage and fight. What, that's so barbaric. Da, 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 da. And it's like, I've never been in a street fight after I started training. I respect, you know, I'm more cordial, I'm more relaxed. Like, yeah, I'm more beat up. And my wife's like, are you sure
100%.
you want to keep doing this? But I mean, there's worse things to be addicted to than fighting. I mean, I
Oh
think
yeah.
usually, I mean, when we both have our kids in it for obvious reasons, I mean, I think it's great to have kids in it. You know, your kids are in it. My son's been doing it since he was 3. He's now 8. I think it's hugely beneficial to get the kids in. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, what about team sports? It teaches them this and this and that. And he doesn't even want to do team sports. He surfs and he fights, and
Yeah.
that's all he wants to do.
Perfect.
And if soccer, we drove by somewhere in San Clemente and they were playing soccer, and I says, do you want to get back in it? And I could see the wheels turn, and he says, well, would I have to practice when that would take away from my fighting and surfing? I said, yeah. And he goes, okay, I'm good. I'll stick to what I do. And I'm like, all right, I'm not going to force him to do anything, but
Yeah.
yeah, he loves
No,
it.
I love to hear that. I think that's a beautiful combination. And like you said, you know, training it just leaves you calm. Like
Yeah.
after a hard roll session, I'm so relaxed and I'm so much more open to deal with conflict and challenges and it's just like I said, it's just been a huge it's been one of the most meaningful journeys, and I'm still in it. You know, just
Yeah.
because you get your black belt doesn't mean you stop or you've learned it all. It just means that you've acquired, a certain amount of knowledge, and that and that you never gave up.
Mhm.
And you're still learning and stuff like that. So that's kind of what inspired me to create my Instagram page when I made it. It's just CSW Black Belt Journey,
Mhm.
because the journey continues. As soon as
Yeah.
I got my black belt, I started. It was yeah, I'm a new black belt. I just it was right in the COVID, fucking
Mhm.
COVID, right in the COVID era or time. That's when I got my black belt, and we started teaching, and teaching is a whole nother realm that really helps you sharpen your game, which has helped me a lot. And unfortunately, because of the COVID thing, I haven't been able to compete a lot. I did compete for the first time at Black about 6 months ago at the World League, but that's the only time I've been able to compete. So I'm hoping. I'm so busy, but I'm hoping this year I can get at least 2 tournaments in. I want to do Master Worlds in Vegas, so it's in September. So
Yeah. Well, that's good. Well, what do you think? Like, speaking of jiu-jitsu and people, like, we're addicted to it. It's part of our life. It's part of who we are. Why do you
right,
think most people don't stick with it? I mean, is it just the pain, or what? Like, what is your perspective on it?
that's a good question. I think it's a combination of things. It could be where they had the first experience.
Hmm.
I think that's important. It could be that maybe they're focusing too much on competing and not so much on learning self defense. I don't think there's a real a correct answer to that, but if you just stick with it, man, it has so many benefits.
Yeah. Yeah. I know you said you got your black belt during COVID. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
Did you see a lot more people taking the classes? Or, I mean, I know they couldn't because it wasn't open, but do you see more people getting involved, realizing that the world's gone to shit? It's better to protect yourself and be physical than it is to just be a vegetable.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny because we never shut down. We just we
Yeah.
kept we kept we kept rolling, and we never shut down. It's like it never even happened for us. And actually, um, every tournament organization uh, shut down, wasn't having events and stuff like that. So my partner Nick and I, we started the Rebellion tournament.
Mhm.
And it was right in that COVID time, and we had 3 events, and they were super successful. We're actually talking about doing a 4th one, but this year. So stand by. That's hopefully going to come towards the end of the year. And it's funny because I just feel like the jiu-jitsu community didn't buy into that.
Yeah.
Into all that bullshit and stuff like that. We weren't the only ones that stayed open and kept training and stuff. How much closer can you get, when you grapple and stuff like that? We joke around and we say, jiu-jitsu kills COVID.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, it's good to be around like-minded people. And when you go to the gym like that, usually, I mean, for me, I think it was a scam, whatever, but if you're healthy, you eat right, you sleep well, I mean, you do all the basics,
right.
You're going to fight off the normal cold. Like I was a little under the weather yesterday. I got some rest. I drank a lot of water and I feel fine today. It's like, if you just take care of yourself, I mean, the people that I think we're getting more, and I had COVID and it kicked my butt for a few days, but you know what?
Yeah.
I moved on. It was just like every other cold and flu I had. It was kind of rolled up in one, but it wasn't the end of the world. And I got back and I started running again. And people just, I don't know. It's a sad scenario how people, and now people are taking off masks and celebrating. It's like, I don't think I ever really put on a mask. I mean, I think when we flew a couple of times, I got bitched at. I got put on lists and stuff because I wear the gaiter, and then the gaiter would just, But people are celebrating now, and it's like this is what people that they want us to think that we're winning, and it's like we can.
Right.
That's a whole nother podcast we can do, but I think like-minded jiu-jitsu people are like-minded and pretty level-headed.
For sure, and I think your body, your body's going to do what it needs to do, man. Just let it work. You get a fever for a reason. Your body's killing stuff off, your immune system's going to do what it needs to do. Just relax, drink some water, eat right, limit alcohol, stuff like that. I don't drink at all. And jiu-jitsu is one of the reasons is that, my goal is to train every day.
Mm-hmm.
My goal is to get better every day. My goal is to improve every day. And so one of the changes I had to make was, if I want to be the best I can, I got to eat right. I got to get rid of the bad shit, So you know how it is. You have 2 beers and the next day you don't function the same.
Yeah.
You're cloudy, your head's, your mind's not sharp, your body's sluggish and stuff like that. So I think your body is just, we have, our bodies are remarkable, to be honest. In my opinion.
I was actually joking with Nick last night because I asked how his birthday went, and he said, "Oh, it wasn't that bad. I was home by 10:30." I said, "Yeah, I spent a lot of my 20s partying so much that now, if people like if he invited me to his birthday, I'm like, I have to take 2 naps if I'm going to stay up past 9 o'clock." So
that's just because you're almost 50, brother.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah. I'm right behind you. I'll be 40 soon.
Oh, well, you're a young buck, man.
I am. Yeah. I just turned 37 in March.
March what?
March 17th, St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, mine's March 16th.
Oh shit! There we go.
Yeah,
1 day apart.
Yeah, so in my 20s, I used to parlay the 16th and then the 17th, and it was a big.
Of course.
Yeah.
It was a party week. St. Patrick's Day.
Happy birthday! That's cool. So you just turned 30. What? 37?
Just turned 37. Yes, sir.
Wow.
Yep.
10 years older. I'm 10 years older than you.
Yeah. I kind of I guess it's I feel like I started a little late with my second time around when I in jiu-jitsu. 27, and I was 27 when I came back, and it's actually when I first stepped foot into Eric Paulson's gym in Fullerton. I remember rolling with came in and I rolled with a brown belt in the gi, and that was like the first time I ever really felt jiu-jitsu and experienced it. So I'd trained before when I actually got introduced. Let me back up a little bit. I got introduced to jiu-jitsu when I was 13, and I trained for a few years with my brother. And then life happened. I took a break. I came back my second time at 27, and it's been tunnel vision since then. So when I came back at 27, I stepped into Eric Paulson's gym. I rolled with a brown belt. I don't remember his name. I just remember being mind blown. Like, what is this guy doing?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how did like I don't stand a chance at all. Like anything I would try or what I thought I knew, it was just like his hips would move left to right. He'd cut angles. He'd take my back just so effortless. And I'm like, I got to learn how to do this. That's the first time I really felt that. I'm like, and since then it's been tunnel vision.
Yeah.
I'm like, I was determined to learn it. I felt like it was like a superpower. Like, how is it that this guy, and I was much bigger than him, how is it this guy is just completely dominating me? Like,
Yeah.
it didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened to me. I went in thinking I was, 6'2", 220. I'm gonna throw people around. And I got tied up so quickly. And I think that's to answer my own question. I think that's what deters people. They go in there thinking they're gonna be a badass, and they get reality and they get humbled, and then they walk away. With me, I got humbled and I loved it. And I was like you with the brown belt, I was like, how do I do this? Like, this has got to be the next level. And I took to it and I loved it. But I do see a lot of people, like we used to back, again, I'm aging myself, 20 years ago. What was it? It was tap out. Everybody on the corner and wanted to, be tap out, and they were all fighters. So our gym was in Long Beach, and we'd get the street guys coming in thinking they were tough. And it was just, hey, you might be tough in the bar with a 1-2 fight or a 1-2 punch, but when we tie you up and roll you, and they'd get so frustrated and yell and curse, and then they leave, and it's like, all right, it's better to weed them out the first couple of days than to figure out their knuckleheads later. But yeah, I loved it. I mean, like, just like you, I think, how do I figure out this puzzle? And that's what it is to me. Like, even now, rolling with these guys at Peaceful Warrior, I think his name was Justin. He's a blue belt, I believe. But I'm tapping out. He's getting me in these things, and I'm like, how do you do that? How do you do that? He's like, let's talk after class. And I came up to you afterwards too. I'm like, I get stuck. I'm just sitting there like, what do I do with these gis? It's a trip, but I love it. I love it so much, and I love it. To me, it's just another puzzle I got to figure out, and I got to get better. So yeah,
absolutely. And that's a good point. It's probably why a lot of people quit. They've got an ego thing, and they come in and they get humbled. And so, yeah, I totally agree that can be also one of the reasons. And totally agree with the puzzle thing. And I think that's what kind of keeps me going even today, is like, I'm constantly trying to figure out and improve certain areas in my game. Like, I'm trying to get super fluid with single leg X, and I'll spend time perfecting that area. And then once I feel I'm pretty good there, I'll realize that I suck at 50-50. So I'll spend time in 50-50. And then I'll go back to pressure or passing the guard and kind of passing with a floating style, passing with pressure, and, controlling the back. There's just so many areas that you can work on. And that's kind of what keeps me going too. And what keeps me focused is, what are we going to work on? What are we going to improve? And it's endless. I mean, there's guys that have been doing this way longer than I have. I've been doing it almost 10 years, nearly every day. And it's like, I don't think you'll ever get to the point where you're like, I figured it out.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing more I need to learn. Like, I was talking to my crew the other night, and an area that I struggled in was controlling the back. And sure, there was keeping the back, I should say. And I could get to the back, I could get to someone's back, and if they would get out, I'd still control and dominate. I would reach for their far sleeve, work my way to mount. Or if they'd get out and stand up, I'd pull right in the single leg X, guard. Like, I wasn't lost in the position, but I couldn't figure out how to keep it.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew it was an area I needed to improve, and I kind of put it on the back burner. And I was satisfied because I could always go to something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what was it? Oh, my phone's low on battery. I'm gonna have to plug it in a second. I think it was last Wednesday. Like I said, I was telling you earlier, I've been training with Jiva Santana over in Tustin,
Mm-hmm.
and I literally go there to get beat up. Like,
Yeah.
I can't make it all the way to Fullerton a few times a week, but I can make it to Tustin, and I have a few friends that train there. Anyway, I was there last Wednesday, and sure enough, Jiva goes over how to keep the back. From the seatbelt, he takes your hook out, starts to hip out. You get up on your head and shoulder, and you bring your knee all the way up to his shoulders, and then you just cradle him back in, and you just do that over and over and over. And I was like, poof, it all came together finally.
Yeah.
And that's how it is. It's like that in the beginning a lot, and I think that's one of the reasons it's super addicting.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of that happening in the beginning where you're just like constantly, things are just connecting, and you're like, oh, I see it, I feel it. Oh yeah. And so it was really cool to experience that, because I feel like as you do it longer, that happens less and less.
Mm-hmm.
But when it does, it's like, man, it's so rewarding.
Yeah. Well, I'm not there yet. I haven't tapped any, because I'm rolling with the guys at Peaceful Warrior, and I haven't tapped any of those guys out yet. So my goal is just to not get tapped out, because I know they're baiting me for stuff, and I know they're getting me in this. And I'm like, my biggest problem is I think I told you, I can get top control, but then I know some key locks and this and that, but I just feel like I'm stalling, and I'm waiting the inevitable, because I know they're figuring a way out, and I'm just like. And I feel like they're getting frustrated because I'm stalling, but it's like, well, I got a position here, but I'm just trying to, like, I don't know if I just do the gi thing. I've never trained in a gi, so I'm just trying to figure it all out. But it's fun.
That's very common, actually, to feel that way and think that way in the beginning. And what I tell my students, and just know that it's okay to hang out. Yeah. Like you need to learn when to move, mm-hmm. and how to move. That's going to help you with your breathing. You're going to be more effective. So don't feel like you're stalling. If you get to a good position, you get the side control, you get the mount, you take the back, and you're like, oh, I need to do something. I need to keep moving. Just hang out.
Yeah.
Get the side control, smash them. You're a big guy. Just lay on them. And sometimes guys tend to like kind of blank out. Like, okay, I got the side control. What am I going to do next? What should I attack next?
Yeah.
A lot of times you just got to wait for your partner to move. He moves, you move. So your side control, you really don't have anything. Maybe start applying pressure on his belly. Go up to knee on belly. Make him react. Make him move. That's going to open up opportunities for you. It'll create a scramble, and that's when you capitalize. Hey, excuse me 1 second. I got to grab my charger.
Yeah. No worries.
Sorry about that. I'm sure you could probably edit that, right?
Yeah. We'll leave. I'll get that out of there. Is your family awake yet?
No, they've you know how you said you were kind of feeling down?
Yeah.
Let me exit out real quick, make sure it's charging. Hang on.
Okay.
Okay, it's charging. Yeah, they're still sleeping. We've all been down with something. We're fighting something off. They started Saturday night, and I kind of started shortly after them.
Yeah.
It's like little fever, stuffy, stuff like that. like we were saying, just let your body do what it needs to do. You'll heal.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't roll last night because of it. So I took Kingston there and he rolled. And then he's always like, "You gonna roll afterwards?" I said, "Not tonight, buddy." So I'll be there tonight. Are you coaching tonight?
Nice. I don't know if I'm gonna make it because I'm not 100%.
Yeah.
I don't want to get anybody sick. You know.
Well, when I was taking a nap yesterday, my wife had my son down there, and he comes up out of the blue. He says, "How are you doing?" I said, "I'm good." He says, "I got a thing to tell you." I said, "Oh yeah, what's that?" And he says, "I'm gonna do jiu-jitsu Tuesday after spring break." He says, "I'm gonna do jiu-jitsu on Tuesday and Thursday so I can train with Axel. And then
Nice.
Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'm gonna surf." I'm like, "Okay," because he gets out
Nice.
of school at 3:10. So he's planned
Yeah.
out his whole thing. I'm like, "Okay, bud, thanks for letting me know." And he goes, "Okay, I
Amazing.
hope you feel better." And then he takes off.
Isn't that so cool where they go to school? I mean, that's a whole
Yeah.
nother
Yeah.
conversation, stuff like that. But that's just so, I give my wife props for really putting in the work and finding ILA and
100%. My wife did the same thing.
volunteering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we lived in Huntington, he was going to a Catholic school, and it was just close and convenient. And then we moved to San Clemente, and that's when all the schools started shutting down. And I was just like, "Nah, whatever." And she took the time and energy and found ILA when they were in San Juan. And yeah, it was great. I loved it. And he loves it. He loves like the kind of like college where you go to one teacher a little bit and then you go to the next teacher and you move on. And
Yeah.
he loves it. I don't know where they're going to be next year though. They're moving. So again, but
Yeah.
yeah, the whole
That,
structure of it is all great and I like it.
yeah. I heard there might be San Juan, I think, is opening a campus.
That would be better because I mean, I live in Laguna Niguel and driving up to the bake off ramp is it's killing me.
I know. Yeah,
So
I'm in Laguna too.
yeah. So go back to teaching. What do you think
Yep.
makes a good student in jiu-jitsu? Like what are the good attributes?
I always encourage my guys to first of all make sure that you're there.
Mm-hmm.
So I tell them these 5 things. I say, time and consistency is important. Skill set is important. Attitude is important. Competition is important. If you don't compete, which is okay, at least hit up some open mats.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's really important for the development of your game. It's very important to roll with as many people as you possibly can,
Mm-hmm.
with as many different styles as you possibly can. That's how you become a killer. You got to be exposed to all of it. You have to fail, and then you got to come back and fix it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I so it's time and attendance, skill set, um, ability to teach. Like, show me what you know, break it down for me, let me know you understand it. Attitude, and again, competition. So
Yeah.
I think a good student, I think when a student takes that into their um, regular training, I think that makes a good student. I always also encourage everybody to, it's not all just about rolling hard. You know, I encourage them to drill. I encourage them to watch videos, write stuff down. Like when you come to class, bring a notebook with you.
Mm-hmm.
That way, when you're hanging out at open mat over the weekend, you go through your notebook and you have something to work on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so watch videos, take notes, and you can also like draw out like a flow system.
Mm-hmm.
These are all things I did and I do. So
Yeah.
like a flow system. For example, you start off in close guard. Your opponent stands, breaks your guard. You look for a right sleeve grip. You look for a left ankle grip, and you fall into De La Hiva. You kick them open. You feed the hand. What happens if he stuffs your leg? Then you kick him back, put him right into single leg X. It's just like you got to have. It's good to have right out a little flow, and try and kind of like um, get good at that or master it. And you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's good. I've never even heard of that. That's great advice, because like I write my to-do list daily. I have my goals. I have that. I've never thought about, like, because once it happens, you just go and you just do things. I like that. Like
Yeah,
having like have 5 moves lined up and work on that repetitively. I like that.
exactly. Yeah, write it out. Write it out. Visualize it in your head,
Yeah.
and then try your best to apply it when you're rolling.
Yeah.
So there's a huge mental aspect to. There's a lot of thinking involved. It's not just physical. There's
Yeah.
a lot of you got to think about what you're doing. You got to counter. You got to deal with being in a bad spot. Stuff like that. And I think, like I was saying at the beginning, jiu-jitsu has been a catalyst for a lot of improvement in my life. And I think having that constant challenge mindset of dealing with a problem
Mhm.
and fixing it and adapting, man, those are skills you need for business.
Yeah.
Those are skills you need for in your marriage, like being patient,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So yeah, jiu-jitsu has been one of the most meaningful journeys in my life. So
Yeah, I tell people it's like a chess match. Like a lot of people, not so much now, but when they're watching UFC and they hate it to go to the ground. I love it
yeah,
because it's you're seeing the little intricacies of how one little move can change, and I love it. And then when you're doing it, it's the same thing. Like you think you're, it's just a chess match to me. It's not just two guys just going at it, beating the shit out of each other. It's actually you're thinking, you're strategically trying to position yourself different ways, and that's to
yep,
me, it's the addicting part of it. Because like you said, it's not
yeah,
just, you don't just go in there like bah, and just like shred. Like you go in there and you think, and you're always constantly moving and trying to progress. So yeah, I agree with that.
exactly, exactly. And that
How
kind of goes with what we talked about earlier. Getting to a good position and hanging out
yeah,
and waiting for your partner to move and stuff like that. So,
yeah.
well, you were gonna ask something.
How do you think, because I've had a couple other jiu-jitsu guys, I know a lot of jiu-jitsu guys, how do you think promotions, do you think some schools or some dojos put the belt or advance you sooner? Or what is your take on that? Do you think how long should people wait
Yeah,
until they think they're going to advance? Or, I mean, I know you
that's a
don't
really
talk, the student's
yeah,
not supposed to ask or question, when am I going to get the next belt? But like, what is
right.
as a teacher, what is your philosophy?
That's a really good question. And so going back to what I mentioned to you about the five requirements that I have or that I ask for of my students.
Hmm.
So those they have to do, and in order to be promoted. So let's use attitude for an example. If you're a brown belt or you're a purple belt and you're really good at jiu-jitsu, but you're always hurting somebody, or you have this egotistical attitude, and you're going out to the bar and and fighting people, and you're giving us a bad name and stuff like that,
Hmm.
I'm not going to promote you.
Yeah.
You're not representing yourself well. You're not representing us well. So that's attitude. That's a good question because that can get tricky, and there's different ways to look at it. If you're a competitor, I believe you stay at your belt a little longer.
Hmm.
If you're when you're a competitor, in my opinion, and you got to be careful. You have to be careful promoting competitors too fast, because if they're not ready for it, and you promote them to the next level, and they go out there and get smashed,
Hmm.
that can be very discouraging mentally.
Yeah.
So you have to be very careful. And so my rule of thumb is from white to blue is 1 to 2 years, and that's training consistently. Okay,
Hmm.
with all the requirements I mentioned. So it's 1 to 2 years. And the analogy I like to use, and I often bring up to my students, is that everybody runs a mile at a different pace. Some of us run it in 7 minutes, others run it in 15 minutes. Just do the best you can.
Hmm.
Absorb and learn as much as you can. So white to blue is 1 to 2 years. Blue to purple is 2 to 3. Okay. Purple to brown is also 2 to 3. by the time you're a brown belt, in my opinion, if you're training consistently, it can be 1 to 2 years before you get a black belt.
Mhm.
So all in all, 7 to 10 years if you're training consistently.
Yeah.
I know guys that have been training 15 years and they're at blue. Everybody's different, you know?
Yeah.
Um, so I hope that
Yeah.
answers.
Yeah.
hope that helps.
And I spoke with somebody the other day, and he said, 10th Planet. He goes, I've been rolling there for 4 years, and there's guys we don't get promoted at all. I'm like, oh, I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't know too much about 10th Planet, but yeah, like everybody, I know guys in Michigan who it's really difficult to get up. And there's one of my Army Ranger buddies is a white belt, and he just keeps competing and stuff. But he's like, I don't even expect to get any higher because I don't think our guy's going to let us. But it's
Yeah, you see
interesting.
it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see it all. You know, I'm not going to mention any names, but I know academies that kind of have the same philosophy, and we call those sandbaggers.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times coaches want to look good, and they want their school to look good, so they don't promote the guy. That's not fair.
Yeah.
That's not fair either. So we call those sandbaggers.
Do you see a lot of people jumping from gym to gym with that, like if they don't get promoted or if they're not happy?
Yeah, that can also put a damper on how you get promoted if you're constantly moving around and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You kind of you don't really start over, but you kind of do. Most gyms will let you keep the belt that you have, but you got to kind of learn their system and prove yourself and stuff like that. But yeah, it can get tricky, and there's, like I said, there's academies that don't promote. I have seen others that get promoted too fast, but it is what it is. If you, at the end of the day, if you don't quit, you just keep rolling, even if you got promoted early.
Yeah.
You're gonna catch up, you know. And my sensei Eric Paulson, I like the way he says that a lot of the times students will rise to the occasion. You know, they're at that cusp,
Mm-hmm.
and as soon as you promote them, you're like, he wasn't a blue belt today, but in a week, I guarantee you, he's gonna be a blue belt because he's gonna feel that pressure. He's gonna train more. He's gonna want to have to keep up and stuff like that. So
that's where
there's
I'm
just
at.
different.
Yeah, because when I just started with Peaceful Warrior, and the big guy I just saw yesterday taught the kids. He taught one of my when I was in it, and he says, okay, because I walk in with a white belt. He says, have you ever rolled before? And I just feel awkward because I've been in cages and I fought and I do all this, and it's like, well, I know a little bit. And so then I went over with the white belts, and I'm like, okay, it's humbling. But I don't take it as a shot against me. I don't take it personal. I got to start at the beginning, just like everybody else, and I'm eager to progress and move forward.
Yeah.
So it's just another challenge to me.
Kingston is Kingston is a perfect example. Like, I noticed he came in and you know he's got some moves. I mean, he's not new.
Yeah.
He's not new, absolutely. But and then I noticed he was wearing a white belt. So I'm like, okay. So you know, he like I said, he trained other places. He came here. He obviously knows how to roll, but he kind of has to start from square one. But in a situation like that, he would be promoted much faster, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Much faster than somebody that's completely green. So there is no black and white answer. There's guidelines that you try and kind of follow, and you have to use judgment and you know, and stuff like that. So
well, he'll get really excited when he gets promoted ahead of me because we used to do Krav Maga in Huntington, and I never put belts on. I trained for 15 years before I even had a belt system. And so he says, "Oh, I'm green or I'm blue," and I'm like, "Okay, but can you beat me?" And that's the test that I like. Is like, well, you can be whatever belt you want to be, but can you beat me? So he's very into the belts and climbing high, which is good. He's 8 years old. He should have goals like that. So he's funny. I love him.
Yeah, it's I think it kind of measures where you're at, keeps you motivated.
Yeah.
There's a reward. I don't know what it is or how to explain it, but there's a reward that you get when you receive it, like an award, so to speak, an accomplishment.
Yeah.
Hey, I earned a stripe. Hey, I earned a belt. my coach noticed me. My work is paid. My hard work is paid off.
Yeah.
So like that 10th planet, like you mentioned, that where they don't promote, it's like, why? What is it that you're trying to do? Why are you not promoting? You're trying to keep that guy at white belt so he destroys everybody, and your school looks good. You're not helping him out.
Yeah.
Challenge him. If he's winning and he's doing good, challenge him. Put him in the next level.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
It's tricky. It's tricky for sure, brother. It's tricky.
Yeah. Well, I think we've hit the jiu-jitsu one on the nail on the head, but I found out the other day, because I was talking to you about the podcast. I said, yeah, I have fighters, surfers, real estate guys. And you said,
yeah,
you also invest in real estate. So I know I don't want to take too much of your time, but dive into a little bit of that. How did you get into real estate investing?
Yeah, definitely. So I just started in 2020, and I'll back up a little bit. I started in business, opened my first official business in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
And so let me back up a little more. I've been in the heavy equipment rental industry for 19 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's so I supply machines to all types of contractors all over the state.
Mm-hmm.
Primarily rent them. So I have a book of business that I manage and stuff like that. So in 2015, I bought 5 water trucks, and it went so well. The business did so good that I brought on investors. Investors actually approached me, and they're like, "Hey, let's take this all the way. Let's make this big."
Mm-hmm.
And so they invested millions of dollars, and I went from 5 trucks to 89 machines, and it was about a $5 million equipment investment. And we were killing it for the first few years. This was in 2017, so 2 years after I started my water truck business. We kind of merged it together, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So a few years into the business, I realized I teamed up with some sharks, some older dudes that were way smarter than me in business, way more experienced. And needless to say, I learned a lot, brother.
Mm-hmm.
I basically got paid, and I went to business school. Not in your traditional way where you go to college and stuff like that. I just dove right in, and it was a real life experience. And I was president of the company, and a few years in, I realized I got in bed with some sharks, and long story short, they had plans to dilute me, and I was growing a business for them to, basically for them to benefit from.
Yeah.
And a few years in, I'm like, I'm not going to bust my ass for 5 years and then be left with 5% of the business. There's certain requirements that they brought up later. It wasn't part of our original business plan and stuff like that. So long story short, it didn't work out. I learned a lot. I sold all the fleet in 2020, early 2020. That's when I sold my house, and I moved to South Orange County.
Mm-hmm.
And I hit the floor running immediately. Like, I'm here. I met Nick. I started teaching it with Nick. We started the Rebellion tournament. That started a whole other venture. We created the LLC and stuff like that. So to answer your question about the real estate, in 2020, I was always looking to do something. How am I going to invest? How am I going to turn this X amount of money into more money? And it's just fun to me. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. It's just really fun. I think of myself as a creator.
Mm-hmm.
I like to create things. I have ideas, and I bring things to life.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it be wanting to get my black belt, starting this business, investing in the real estate, learning about the stock market, and investing in the stock market and stuff like that. So I bought a house in Hawaii, and in 2 years, it appreciated 60%. I got my initial investment back, pulled it out. I refinanced. By the way, that's an Airbnb and it's killing it. It's just incredible. It's doing
What
so
island's
well.
it on?
It's in Oahu.
Oh, I'll
Yeah,
hit
it's on
you up later for it. Maybe we'll go to it.
yeah, absolutely. It's on the North Shore. It's actually in Turtle Bay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's really cool. So that did so well, and I'm like, I got to keep doing this.
Yeah.
What's next? What's next? So I went out to Joshua Tree. I did my research, about read a lot about where good investments would be and stuff like that. Um, Joshua Tree has over 3 million tourists every year. It's booming. It's growing. Um, Homes have appreciated tremendously. So I went out there and I was like, huh. I told my wife, I'm like, hey, I think I want to build a house. She's like, you've never built a house. What are you talking about? You've never even built a doghouse. And I'm like, I think I'm gonna build a house. So I went out there, I bought a piece of land, um, got all my permits, got my house designed, you know, got all that done. And sure enough, I should be breaking ground in May out there.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's fairly new,
Hmm.
but it's successful, and I have goals. Like I was telling you, I'm 37. I have a goal by 40. My goal is to have 10 units, whether that be 10 houses or a duplex. I want to have 10 units. I
Yeah.
want to create cash. I want to create cash flow for myself, um, like the Hawaii, like the Hawaii house.
Yeah.
So that's my goal. I'll do this one. This one in Joshua Tree. It should be done hopefully by the end of the year. And next year I'll do two more. That'll put me at four because I'll have more capital.
So are you just turning them like the Joshua Tree one? Are you going to turn that into Airbnb, or are you just going to build it and sell it and then put that money towards something else?
Yeah, I'm gonna see where the market is. Things are changing. Interest
Hmm.
rates are going up.
Right.
So the real estate market is might slow down a little bit. So I'm gonna see where the market is at the time. So if by the end of the year, if interest rates are still reasonable and things are still hot and selling, I'm gonna sell it. So it appraised at 630,000, and I'm gonna build a house for 300 grand.
Yeah.
So do the math. That's gonna be a nice chunk of change there. So if the market stays hot, I'll sell it, and then
Hmm.
I'll do two more. I'll do two more next year. But if it doesn't, I'll either do a long-term rental or I'll do an Airbnb. So either way, I think it's a pretty bulletproof plan, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Do you have any mentors or anybody that's kind of helping you along, or are you just learning as you go?
No, my wife, she's a real estate agent,
Hmm.
so she's educated me a lot on the way. She's really smart with this kind of stuff, with loans and how to refinance and when to refinance, and she's really savvy with uh with with money, with real estate. And so she's been my guidance.
Yeah.
I'm the one that kind of pulls the trigger and is a bit impulsive and takes the risk, but she's the one that kind of is in the background,
Yeah.
educating and helping out and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm like you. I like to create things, start new businesses, and my wife's in mortgage industry, so she knows all this stuff, same stuff, loans, real estate, and all that. And I'm just like, she's a numbers person, and I'm the creative person. So we
There you go.
yeah,
So you know exactly what I'm talking about.
100%. Like when you're saying like you like to create, you like to like I'm in that stage now with that project I was telling you about, and some people find it daunting and like, oh, it's just I like that part, like getting the logos ready, getting the blueprint ready, and I like just checking off things as I go, and I like that's the way my mind works. Her mind is like numbers, cranking out numbers, spreadsheets, and I'm like that shit would drive me nuts if I had to do
Yeah,
a lot of that stuff all day.
yeah,
But
but it makes a good team.
100%, yeah, 100%. Because some things that she hates doing creative wise, and especially with our son, I'll sit and draw with him, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing!" I'm like, "It kind of, you know, comes to me and good. But if I try to do anything with her industry, shoot me, like I'm still the guy who counts on his fingers. Like, wait, doing Kingston's math with it. I'm math on my hand. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool though that you're getting into that. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
It's a new venture. It's different, but not really. You know, like I said, I've been in the heavy equipment industry. I've been around construction my whole life.
Yeah.
So it's all about just creating and putting the pieces together, putting the pieces to the puzzle together, and making sure it happens. You know, I
Yeah.
go out there, buy the land, I deal with the city, I pull the permits, I find the architect, I find the soils guy. I have contractors bid for different trades. Like it's fun.
Yeah.
It's really not that hard. You know,
Yeah.
it's not that hard. It's just you just gotta be consistent, you know?
Yeah. Well, I'm in a couple of different masterminds, and one of the things that I'm learning is don't get mad at the small stuff. Find solutions to the problems instead of going, shit, this happened. Now I gotta spend a day solving it. Don't get mad at it. Just find solutions. And so I've been trying to train my brain to think of that way. Even with, you know, with raising my kid, it's like, don't get mad at the small stuff. Find solutions and move on. Because getting mad at it isn't going to solve anything, but find solutions, and, you know, is the way that I'm trying to work on things and try to get more shit done. So
Absolutely.
yeah. Well, I know I didn't want to take you. Your phone's going to start blowing up here, and your day is going to start getting kicked off. But how do people find you if they want to do privates with you, or come train with you? How do people find you?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. That's actually a little side venture I've also got going on.
Yeah.
I'm really driving that as of lately. So you can find me on Facebook. I'm sorry. Yeah, Facebook. It's Jiu-Jitsu private and small group training.
Okay.
That's just like that. That's what it's called. And it'll take you right to my page. You can click the call button and get a hold of me that way. You can message me. You can also message me on uh, Instagram,
Yeah.
CSW Black Belt Journey. So yeah, that's another little side gig I've got going on, trying to kind of build that as well. I love teaching. You know, you and I talked a little bit last week about making sure giving people the tools to feel confident and not feel scared about going to Cabo or
Yeah.
going to wherever. You know, you want to feel confident, and you want to know that you can handle yourself. So I want to give that. I want to give that to women, children, men. Um, just help out in that way. So
Yeah, that's great. I 100% agree. Like we talked about it. I think being scared, and especially in today's world, is terrible. Like don't
yeah,
don't walk out of the house feeling like you're going to be a victim, or you will be a victim. So
yeah,
yeah, you have a lot more knowledge in jiu-jitsu to help people. I can just facilitate where to go here, go there. And so yeah, well, I appreciate giving up your morning for me and taking the time this morning. It was great. I loved learning more about you and the business
yes, sir.
aspects of jiu-jitsu. I loved it all. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. I love what you're doing, and keep it up. And I'm sure we'll be. I'm sure we'll be doing this again. Hopefully.
100%. And if you feel better, I'll see you tonight. If not, I'll see you sometime this week.
All right, brother.
All right. Thanks, Alex. Appreciate it.
Peace out. Bye bye.
Yeah.